Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Boro Fan TV and the Monday Night Show with me, James Hutchinson. Back-to-back wins at the Riverside have kept Boro's playoff hopes alive as we go to the final game of the season at Preston this Saturday. Can Boro make the top six? Joining me to discuss the events of the last 7 days are Tony Guest and Joe Scott. Welcome to the show, lads.
Good evening.
Great to have you on board again, boys. Before we start the show, I'd like to pass on our congratulations to both Mask United and Stockton Town, who both have had magnificent seasons this year, with Mask United pipping Stockton at the weekend to win promotion to the Northern Premier League. And also, Boro Fan TV, everybody at Boro Fan TV sends their condolences to the family of Neil Campbell, local non-league footballer. He also played for Southend United, amongst others, in the Football League, and Scarborough, who sadly passed away at the weekend. Neil, all your family and friends, you're all in our thoughts. Tony, Cardiff match last week, mate. The first half of the Riverside double-header, we defeated Cardiff. But it wasn't until Marcus Tavernier's opener that things started to settle down. But it was a bit scratchy before then, wasn't it, mate?
Yeah, kind of like you say, it never is a great watch against Cardiff, and we were flattering to deceive again. And what I can remember, it's been such a long time since last week, James. If I'm right, they seemed to dominate possession for long spells before we scored. But it just goes to show you've got to take a shot, James. And like you say, Tav got the opportunity against Cardiff, and he smashed it into the bottom corner. And it was nice to see a score from outside the box for once, you know what I mean, instead of coming in through the sides. Yeah, it wasn't pretty, but it was the type of win which we needed to get us back on track. You know what I mean? After the 0-0 draw at Bournemouth, which steadied the ship a bit. But like you say, to get a 2-0 win at home against Cardiff, to set the momentum for obviously Saturday's game and the next Saturday's game against Preston.
Yeah. And Tony, I think Chris Wilder made a few changes on the night in that game, and even during the match. I think the first 20 minutes, like we said, were a little bit iffy to begin with. And then I think he saw what was happening with Cardiff. He pushed Jonny Howson on a little bit, which freed up space for Tavernier and for McGree, and they exploited that, didn't they?
Yeah, McGree seemed to be, what I can remember of the game, McGree seemed to be playing down the right-hand side, alongside Jones. But I think that stifled Jones a bit. When McGree was getting the ball, he seemed hell-bent on cutting inside all the time onto his left. But then, I honestly, I was a bit all over, and I couldn't see what pattern of play or what players were playing where, you know what I mean, James? Which I had a similar problem on Saturday, working out where people were playing, because, it just wouldn't register that Paddy McNair wasn't in the team. You know what I mean? I'm thinking, well, who's playing here and who's playing there? But, yeah, he changed things again. You can't fault him for what he's done. The only problem is we've had with him since he came in is the rotation of the strikers, which obviously hasn't worked for him or for us as a side.
Yeah. Graham, Gwen Palmer said, fingers crossed and toes. I think it's going to be a long week, Graham, this week, mate. It's going to take some time for everything to pass till Saturday. I think we're all on tenterhooks now already, and it's still another 5 days away. Joe, back to the Cardiff game though, mate. And it was the wonder from down under, Riley McGree, that got the second goal. And when that goal went in, you could sense a weight being lifted from the side, couldn't you? Because we've gone 5 games without a win. And you could just sense things start to settle down after that, couldn't you?
Yeah, you can definitely tell. I think it was after the whole game where people were a bit, obviously, some fans were obviously disgruntled. And, I think, the Swansea result did give us a bit of a lift. And then going into the Cardiff game where we did pick up a win, certainly giving us the confidence builders we need. And McGree particularly, scoring 2 against the Welsh sides, obviously give him a lift in itself. Even though it took a little deflection off Curtis Nelson on the way in, it was still going down to McGree's goal anyway. But yeah, you can tell straight after that, there's a huge sense of relief around the ground, even though we didn't play particularly well.
Do you think, Joe?
Like more, yeah. Go on, Todd.
Do you think it was a shot or a cross, mate?
From what I looked at it, and when I looked at the highlights, it looked like he was in for the bottom left-hand corner. So I'm pretty sure it was a shot.
I beg to differ. I think he was trying to find someone inside the 6-yard box, but they all count, don't they? They all count.
I think he was looking for. I think he was looking for Balogun. I think to tap it in, but it ended up anyway.
Damon LaRoche has said there, Riley McGree stepped up when Crooks was out, but I'm glad the tree was back on Saturday, and we'll get to the Stoke game later on in the show. But talking of Riley McGree, his goal was created by Jonny Howson, who was a driving force throughout the evening against Tony, as he has been so often through the season. What's your thoughts on a new contract? Because obviously Jonny Howson's out the contract at the end of this season. What's your thoughts on, do you think that Boro will offer him a new contract?
If we stay in the Championship, James, it's a must for me, you know what I mean? There's been so many ups and downs this season with players' form. Jonny Howson's had his fair share of criticism coming into this season from last season. He's had a bit of criticism this season at the start of the season when things weren't going well. His legs, how many times have we heard Howson's legs have gone? Do you know what I mean? But he's just the ultimate professional, James, to be putting performances. People keep saying he's an 8.5 out of 10 every game. For me, he's been a 10 out of 10 every game. Every game that man puts on a Boro shirt, he gives everything for us. And yeah, definitely if we stay in that Championship, he's got to be given another year. And obviously, if we do, which is a long way off at the moment, if we do manage to go up, you know, he's a massive part of our club now, James, and I think he'd have to be offered something to help us along the way in the Premier League as well. Yeah. And to see it, if we lose a player like that, it'd be so disappointing. But yeah, he definitely deserves a contract. Yeah,
as Liam Wilds mentioned there, thanks for watching, Liam. Jonny Howson was crowned Middlesbrough FC Player of the Year last night. And another player, maybe not at his best, because we've seen him a lot better, but certainly his best performance for a while last Wednesday was Isaiah Jones. Joe, he's picked up, he's struggled for a couple of months, I would dare say, since probably the Tottenham game. He's not been at the best of his form, but there was certainly signs and glimpses of it last Wednesday, wasn't there?
Yeah, I was saying to a few friends of where I was sitting in the South Stand, I was saying to them, I would have thought Jones looked a bit burnt out towards the end of the season, but on Wednesday he did pick up, obviously where he left off because he missed the last few games beforehand due to illness. So I was a little bit concerned, if he did look burned out, towards the end of the season, but he, like I say, he just picked up since then. So I'm glad to see the old Isaiah back.
Yeah. Tony, there's one or two people, Stephen May and Neil Cowan, have got in touch with regards to Jonny Howson and saying he showed his qualities in the games against Man United and Spurs, so would he not deserve a contract if we were to go into the Premier League?
Well, I think Craig Housby? I think Craig's jumped in with both feet there. He kind of heard the full answer I give to your question, James. I did say offer Howson a contract if we do get in the Premier League, to help us along the way. Yeah, he was absolutely outstanding against Spurs and Man United. Showed his qualities against the two of the biggest teams in the country. Jonny Howson, like you say, I do not want Jonny Howson to leave our club, whether it's a Championship or if we're lucky enough to go up to the Premier League. All I'm saying is playing time might be a bit less limited if we go up, which is a big if at the moment.
Yeah, true. Tony, before we move off the Cardiff game, we won the match 2-0. Like I say, it was 5 games before we'd won a match, so I think the first thing was winning the game. Was there any disappointment for you, though, that we didn't add to the total on the night, bearing in mind goal difference and how it might come into play on the final day of the season, or were you just happy just to win the game irrespective?
What's frustrating, James, is when, these players have been together a while now. What's frustrating is when you see Isaiah Jones going past the fullback. Joe knows, I know, you know exactly where that ball's going. There's 2 players on the pitch don't know where that ball's going. And the amount of balls this season which have got flashed past the goal in the 6-yard box with, none of our strikers committed to getting in there. That's a disappointing part of it, James, yeah. We should have went. we should have went. Maybe he's got 3 or 4 against Cardiff. But and you show the importance of goal difference tonight with Fulham doing them by 7. It's brought Millwall back into the game, into the fray. You know, just purely on goal difference.
And the last thing we've got to mention it, Joe, from last Wednesday night game was the reception Aaron Connolly got when he stepped onto the pitch as a substitute. What were your thoughts on that, Joe?
I mean, to be honest, you know, probably some of our fans are a bit fickle sometimes because, you know, to boo the way that they boo Aaron Connolly, I mean, he done nothing wrong. I mean, he's not been the best in terms of form strikers we had at the club, but he always gives it his all every time. I mean, even though he's not scoring, I mean, I just don't see the reason why they have to boo the heck out of him. And then he soon redeemed himself, you know, with that chant that he got on Saturday. But at the end of the day, you don't boo the players if they're not performing well for the club. It's just, you know, just not right.
Yeah, it's shocking, Joe. It's shocking. It's happened a few times at the Riverside. You know, the kid's here on loan, and he's waiting to come on to do his bit for the team.
Yeah,
walks over the white line and gets booed, and then at the end of the game, he gets criticised for going straight down the tunnel. You know what I mean? I don't know what people want of him. For me, you know, he's no better or no worse than the strikers which we have because, you know, none of them have covered themselves in glory. I can make an exception for Watmore purely on his work rate and his desire. Do you know what I mean? At least you can see that kid trying. Yeah. But, you know, he's no worse than the other strikers which we have at the club. And I include Coburn in that, who hasn't had the game time, fair enough. But, you know, to be booing a player with a Boro shirt on, coming on as a substitute, an absolute disgrace. Yeah. But he never covered himself in glory by going online drunk, you know, and now he's become a legend for what he said.
David Olsen's in agreement with you, lads. He said, I don't think you should ever boo your own players. It's hardly going to change them and make them perform any better. And I think another point of it is, as you raised there, lads, he's a player that's coming on loan. And as you know, players will talk to each other and he'll go back to a dressing room at Brighton and players mix around the clubs and stuff like that. And if he gets asked his opinion of Middlesbrough, he's hardly going to give a glowing report, is he?
No. Like you say, that Carvalho, whatever he's called, Carvalho for Fulham, there could be a kid sat like that in the dressing room somewhere with him next season. And Wilder's made an inquiry and he's asked Connolly, how did it go? And Connolly's going to put the dampers on it for the kids. So, you want people to come here on loan and remember the time at the Boro, not to be going back to their parent clubs, slagging the place off.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like at the end of the day we're going to get like a 20-goal season strike. I mean, obviously most Boro fans would expect that, but it's one of them things, you know, you're not going to expect things like that to happen overnight, and that's what some fans will have to obviously get used to.
Colin Fry's just said there, imagine having to praise a footballer for trying.
Yeah.
Isn't that why we do things like this? Isn't this why we watch football? We like to see players who try for our club, whether we get beat or not. I thought that was the whole idea of shows like this, you know.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot more to his game, but I think Duncan Watmore is thought of so highly by Boro fans because he puts in that effort every week, week in, week out. He doesn't score a stack of goals. He doesn't create a load of chances, but you can never, ever question his work rate. I know we say that sometimes should be a given amongst footballers, but it isn't, is it?
No. And us as Boro fans know that because we've seen a few in our time tossing it off for the 90 minutes.
Yeah. Well, lads, we'll move on to the Stoke City game. And Tony, Sheffield United put the ball back in our court by defeating QPR on Friday night, so there was no margin for error for Boro on Saturday. But I think it speaks volumes after struggling for so many games, 5 matches, we've now won back-to-back games, and it shows that there's character amongst that set of players, doesn't it?
Definitely. Like you say, Wilder's Wilder's been impressed, you know, with the dressing room, and you could see that in the Cardiff game, and you could definitely see that in the Stoke game where they're definitely all together and they're all pulling in the same direction. So to come on the back of no wins in 5, managing to get 7 points on the board out of the last 3 games. It's a massive turnaround after losing 5 games. I just hope it's not, too little too late, James.
Yeah. Just going back to the Aaron Connolly situation, Joe, Mikey Bones got in touch and he said, Spora doesn't try and gets a song made glorifying. Connolly grafts and gets slain. And do you think there's anything in that, saying that maybe Spora has had it easier than Connolly? Or do you think at the end of the day, all of our strikers this season have had shortcomings, like we've spoken week after week on the show? None of them have covered themselves in glory and certainly not delivered in terms of goals. But do you think Connolly's had a harder time than others?
Yeah, I mean, considering the fact that he's only 23 years of age, James, I mean, coming in on loan from Brighton, it's a long track to get from Brighton to here. I mean, I'm not saying the same because with Spora, because obviously he had to come all the way from Portugal to get to here. But again, it's hard to get on the fence. Obviously, some people of a striker so young like Connolly. I mean, to go and slate him like that straight away. I mean, again, it's just not on. I mean, with Spora, he obviously came in with a good reputation in his career, and he did well in a period of spell. And then towards between say March to now, he's not been scoring recently. I mean, and most Boro fans are obviously jumping on the fence about it and giving him a lot of grief, which I mean, you don't expect that from our fans at all. I mean, you've got to be treating your strikers with respect, but obviously with Wilder rotating the strikers around, obviously it's a bit difficult for those that are on form, for example, to have a chance of a full run of the team. I mean, look at Balogun, for example. He picks up a bit of form, for the club, and obviously scoring for the England under the 21s, and then all of a sudden, the next game later, he's on the bench. So it's not one of them weird situations.
Tony, do you think, I mean, Chris Wilder made quite a brave decision, I thought, on Saturday, that he started with Watmore and Spore up front again. We've got 7 games now where a striker hasn't scored for us. But do you think, in a way, Watmore and Spore have been the best partnership? Because in the first half of the season, they weren't banging lots of goals in, but as a partnership, they seem to work quite well together. I know people have been talking about Coburn, but who do you play with Coburn? It's just a conundrum that we can't seem to solve at the minute. Or
no,
do you think
I think, like you say, he's brought Balogun and Connolly in, and I think that just made his job a little bit harder. Whether he asked for them to come in, we don't know. You know what I mean? But like you say, Balogun looked the real deal when he, signing a player from Arsenal, England under 21. Something we've been looking for. But he flatters to deceive. The Watmore and Spora, it was quite successful when Wilder come in. But for me, the best we've seen of Watmore this season is when he's came from the bench, James.
Yeah.
I've never felt comfortable with him starting. Do you know what I mean? And with a lack of goals, I think it proves my point that he's more of an impact player than a full 90-minute man, or, as Wilder likes to use him, run himself into the ground for 60, 70 minutes and then give him the hook. I'd rather see him run about for half an hour in the second half, coming on as an impact player, than, going up against 2 big centre-halves. And you've got Connolly getting criticised. Connolly, when he's started, he's always been the man up the middle, which I can never make sense of. You know what I mean? Both Watmore and Connolly, when they start, they're the guys up the middle, up against big centre-halves, and you've got Lumley or Daniels lumping it up, when things are a bit... And the ball's just coming straight back at us most of the time. Mm-hmm. But I don't know where we're going to go with the striker situation. It's been going on, It's been going on since Bamford, which, to name I hate saying, scored his, 17, 18 or 19 goals, whatever it was,
Yeah. I mean, Joe, our top goal scorer of the season is Matt Crooks, who came back into the side after a 3-match ban at the weekend. Got 2 goals and just showed again, highlighted how much we've missed him, didn't he?
Yeah, I think most Boro fans were saying on the socials after the game, he's probably been one of the best signings for the club since George Friend, and I can't say I agree with that. So like I said, he's done. We definitely missed him these last 3 games, and it showed by grabbing those 2 goals. It's he's like the big key in the box when we needed is Matt Crooks. I mean, I think it's going back to when we signed him. I mean, I always thought he was impressive when he was at Rotherham, played against us, when we played games behind closed doors. And I thought, he could be a real asset for us at the club, and he has been, and he just proved it by getting the 2 goals. And I think he got an award at the Player of the Year for his community stuff for this season. So having a player like Matt Crooks at the club helped us a lot this season, and last Saturday he definitely proved it.
My biggest disappointment with Matty Crooks is obviously the 18 yellow cards. The majority of them were cheap yellow cards. He's been suspended for 3 games up until Saturday. 3 games, which I think we lost 1, drew 1, won 1. What position would be in now if Matt Crooks had been available to be picked? I know he wasn't having the best time, along with the likes of Jones since the Chelsea game. His form's dipped. His form had dipped. But them 3 games he missed, he's chipped in with 2 goals on Saturday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He was missing from a misfiring team because of stupid free kick, fouls, and stupid yellow cards, which it's really disappointed me, James. Yeah. That he, the yellow card that got him the 3-game suspension, there was no need for it.
Yeah.
And, he's as much to blame for the position that we're in as the strikers and the goalkeeper this season.
Yeah. I think it'd be interesting to see what happens next season, Tony. I mean, that's 6 games he's missed through suspension this season alone.
6 games, James? What's that? 6 games?
Yeah.
It's poor.
And I don't think it'll happen next season under Chris Wilder's watch. I'd be very surprised if he racked up 15 bookings next season.
Yeah.
But another player who we've talked about a heck of a lot this season, Tony, is Marcus Tavernier. For me personally, he was man of the match on Saturday, and he was playing in an unaccustomed role at wing back. And it was also, if you believe what you've heard after the game, that both him and Isaiah Jones went into the game carrying injuries. But you wouldn't have believed it the way he played, would you?
Absolutely outstanding. I said back at Christmas, you asked me which player stands out for the Boro, and at the time he was getting grief left, right and centre, and I said Marcus Tavernier. Marcus Tavernier has give as much to the club this season as what Jonny Howson has. He gets criticised for his free kicks. He got criticised for losing the ball. And like I said, when I said he's one of our best players, every time he gets the ball, all he wants to do is either beat a man or get the ball forward. His free kicks and corners are unbelievable. On Saturday, they were out of this world. And he's now starting to get the praise he deserves off the Boro fans. The kid's an absolute superstar in waiting, James, and we'll do well to keep hold of him.
Definitely. I agree 100%.
As you were saying, in terms of injuries, I was a little surprised that he did start with Dale Fry on Saturday, because we know players that have calf injuries, wouldn't expect to last to the rest of the season. But it was a big gamble. I would say it's definitely a big gamble for Wilder to throw, Dale Fry back in the deep end on Saturday. So,
do you think, Joe, that was because obviously McNair was out? I mean, Lee Peltier came in, and I thought, to be honest, the back 3, Dyke-Steele, McNair, Dyke-Steele, Fry, and Peltier performed very well. Peltier was, I think, most Boro fans, if they're being honest, were pretty underwhelmed when he joined the club. But I tell you what, he's not let us down this season at all, has he?
No, because I think one of the priorities we were looking for, and when we looking for someone in the summer, was the utility player. I think Peltier definitely fits the bill, even though he's coming up towards 35. He's definitely one of the probably one of the most underused utility players in the game at the minute. And I think he did have one of his best games, I think, on Saturday. So I'm going to give props, to Lee for that.
Yeah. Aaron Norris, thanks for watching, Aaron. He's got in touch with regards to the Matt Crooks situation. He said, needs to sort his discipline out, definitely, but then I love his passion and he's a key player for us. And with regards to Tav, Stephen May has mentioned week in, week out, Tav is quality. I was a critic, but he's come on leaps and bounds. Second behind Howson in the Player of the Year standings for him this season. Liam Wide, Dyke-Steele does what Dyke-Steele does. Very good on Saturday. And Mikey Bourne again. Peltier's been superb, to be honest. Got to hand it to Warnock, to be fair. And I go along with that. before we move off the Stoke game, Tony, we've racked up the joint most home wins this season in the Championship alongside Fulham, which is 14. I mean, regardless of what happens at the weekend, a strong record at home is usually the bedrock to a successful season. So if we are to have another year in the Championship next season, the fact that we've got this in place now surely bodes well for the future, doesn't it, Tone?
Definitely, like you say, up until this season, we've done quite well on our travels, you know what I mean? And we've said for a couple of seasons now that the Riverside needs to become a fortress. And like you say, 14 wins at home is absolutely fantastic. It's been such a long season again, James, because like you say, it didn't seem to... Football hasn't seemed to end through the pandemic. You seem to have got one season out of the way, then it started again, you know what I mean? It all just seemed to merge into one. And you think of the points that we've lost at home, QPR down to 10 men, you know what I mean? But, 14 wins at home, you can't argue with that. And if we've got the same amount of wins at home as what Fulham have got, it's been a great season at home. We've been entertained since Warnock's gone. The place has a different feel about it when you're walking up there. When you're actually in the ground, there's definitely a positive feel, which hasn't been there for a lot of years. And that's down to Chrissy Wilder. So hopefully, if the rumours are all wrong and it's just paper talk and Burnley stay up, Chrissy Wilder stays with us and builds a team to push for promotion next year. Yeah. But like we say, every season that you're down there, the harder it is to get out. So we've got to start and compete with the guys who are coming down and spend some money and get in amongst it.
Mm-hmm. Well, Joe, irrespective of the final outcome, not many Boro fans will have expected us to be in with a shout at the playoffs on the final day of the season when Chris Wilder took over in November. So in one sense, all of this is a bit of a bonus, isn't it?
It's definitely a bonus from the season we had. Obviously, our home form, like you said, definitely got us up to where we are at the moment, and we've still got a good chance, of getting into the playoffs. Hopefully, we call a few favourites from somewhere, particularly like the likes of Fulham, etc. Obviously, good result for them, and obviously clinching the title and start today. But hopefully, like Tony said, Wilder definitely brought the good positive vibes back to the Riverside, which we haven't seen in God knows how long. Probably, since we got promoted to the Premier League not too long ago. So I think it's definitely the positive vibes around the Riverside that's definitely got us to obviously where we are now compared to where we were in previous years.
Yeah. And Tony, after the weekend's games and tonight's game, obviously with Luton taking a 7-0 hammering off Fulham, we sit 2 points outside the playoffs. How do you assess the state of play in terms of it's obviously between 4 teams now? Millwall have been brought back into the equation, but 2 places between Sheffield United, Luton, ourselves and Millwall. How do you assess things heading into the weekend?
We've got to win. Simple as. Doesn't matter what Sheffield United do. Doesn't matter what Millwall do. Doesn't matter what Luton do. They can do what it's up to us on Saturday. We've got to go there, get 3 points, and then hopefully sit and wait. Well, we won't have to wait because everyone will know. Hopefully, the results go our way. I'm not going to get too involved with what's going on at the other games. Till if we're winning 2-0, it'll be the first thing I look for on my phone. I'm not going down that road, James, because you've been through all that when you were younger. You see, I'm looking at the commentary and people are putting all the permutations up, what can happen, and someone's got us beating Millwall on penalties at Wembley with Aaron Connolly scoring the winner in the final. You know what I mean? So I'm just going to go there and sat there. I'm just going to hopefully enjoy a Boro win, which we seem to do well at Preston over the last few years. So, well, when I've been, we seem to get a decent result. I think was it Pulis's best game? We went there and we were 2-0 down, and we managed to drag a 3-2 win out of it.
Yeah.
So
I was just going to say, Tony, talking of final days and rumours going around, you'll have been there. I remember in '88 when we played Leicester at home, and we needed when we thought we needed to go up. And during the game, it transpired a draw would have been enough. but there was rumours going around the ground then about Aston Villa getting beaten. They weren't, and it's chaotic, isn't it? Last day of the season, I know it's different now because people have got phones. Back in the day, it was radios, but it's going to be another one of them days. Isn't it? I know you say just take care of what's happening on the pitch, but people, as soon as that game kicks off, they'll be looking at the phones to see what's going on. Won't they?
Oh yeah, definitely. You won't be able to get a signal because everyone will be just mad at it. But like you say, that 1988, that was a frigging nightmare. That was such a disappointing day. But that's then, this is now, and if anything, it keeps our season alive. And once you get in them playoffs, if you get in them playoffs, anything can happen. Like I was saying to you on Saturday, James, about two teams above us, Sheffield United and Nottingham Forest. Just look where them two clubs were at the start of the season, going into September, October. They were doomed. Them two clubs were doomed. And the frustrating part as a Boro fan is, maybe if we'd have brought Wilder in, like them two clubs brought new managers in, maybe it'd be us challenging Bournemouth for the second promotion place, you know what I mean? But Wilder's got us to where we are. The worst position you can finish in this league, for me, is 7th. And we finished 7th under Pulis, and I don't want it. Fingers crossed it doesn't happen again on Saturday.
Yes, talking of Sheffield, we'll be definitely rooting for the other Sheffield team this week, if you know what I mean.
You're not referring to Sunderland on Friday night, are you, Joe?
Yeah, we're definitely rooting for Sheffield.
Bringing it back to the Championship, pal. I mean, Reading, managed by ex-Boro player Paul Ince, and Mikey Bones saying he hopes that Paul Ince can do us a favour there at Kenilworth Road on Saturday. Are you going to be taking a close eye on the other fixtures, or are you just totally focusing on the Boro match? Because, like I say, it's all academic if we don't win anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we want to see what's happening in the other games, but you got to focus on our own, and we obviously got to focus on our job in hand, and that's what we've got to do on Saturday. Just win the game, and then just worry about the other results later. So, I mean, if we could just focus on the task at hand, I mean, that's us done. It was just wait and see what happens at the come around near enough 2 o'clock time when the games are finished.
Yeah.
Like you say, it's going to be exciting. Like you say, this season, a lot of divisions this season. The end of the season, it's so exciting. You know what I mean? League One, the old Division 3 on Saturday. That was an exciting day for all them clubs involved. Yeah. Now it's our turn on Saturday. Then the climax of the Premier League. I can't wait for that to be played out, because, like you say, there's another neighbour knocking on the door. Maybe he's giving the Championship a familiar look next season.
Well, I know we'll carry on talking about the Boro and the Preston game at the weekend, but talking to the Premier League just for a couple of minutes, Sonny, can you believe that, how things have turned? I mean, Burnley have been transformed in the last month, and Everton got that win yesterday, which maybe people weren't expecting, and all of a sudden, Leeds have been dragged right back into it, haven't they?
I don't think they were ever out of it when you looked at the run of games they have now. Yeah, maybe they felt comfortable that they had the points on the board. They maybe felt comfortable that Burnley and Everton weren't going to turn things round. And it's madness, James, isn't it? This game of football is total madness. Burnley, what have they won now? 3 or 4 on the trot. You've got Newcastle United, rock bottom, going nowhere. And then, a couple of signings, and look at them now, they're climbing up the league. It's absolutely mad how managers and players' attitudes change when there's a new voice in the dressing room, and it's absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah. Paul Nicholas has said, Joe, on Saturday, I'm just going there to enjoy the game. It'll be a fantastic atmosphere, and hopefully get a win with 5,600 Boro fans and a few more, I dare say. The away end will be bouncing.
I bet you he's not enjoying it if we get beat 1-0 at half time. I bet he's firing a few F's into us,
It'll be hard to enjoy it anyway, I think, Tony, on Saturday, because there's that much pressure on it, and it's all right saying, I'm going there and I'm just going to enjoy the day, but you know what the prize is at the end of it. And
as soon as we all get up Saturday morning, James, we're going to have the goosebumps.
Yeah.
You're going to have that feeling which we love. You're going to a big game that the Boro's involved in, and for me, there's no better feeling. It's absolutely class.
Yeah. Joe, with regards to that match at Preston on Saturday, I mean, it's dangerous to think that it's a foregone conclusion we're going to win. I mean, they sit a point ahead of Blackpool, who are their big rivals. And Ryan Lowe, I think the last home game, they got tonked 4-1 at home to Blackburn. They won't want to go out in front of their own fans on a low note. They're not going to just lay down and die for us at the weekend, are they?
No, I think, like you said, they got the extra motivation that they want to finish above Blackpool, of course, their local rivals. And plus, like any other last home game this season, you want to finish on a high. And I mean, they got a good result at the weekend against Barnsley. Obviously, Barnsley were already doomed anyway. But Preston is still a good, strong team. And Ryan Lowe obviously did well at Plymouth Argyle, and now he's coming after. They were struggling under previous management, and obviously he's got them going again. Could guide them to a strong, high table finish. I mean, obviously just below the playoffs. Obviously, now to play for the same as the other couple of teams we played this season. But Preston now a tough start to beat. I mean, I know they did us over at the Riverside earlier on in the season, which I believe was Wilder's second game in charge. So, like I said, they're going to be tough to play against. But I think we do have a decent record at Deepdale, so I'm definitely looking confident.
Yeah. And Tony, I mean, Chris Wilder said at the weekend after the game against Stoke, he didn't want it to be like a basketball game end to end. And I think the same applies on Saturday. He'll just want the players to be very calm, no matter what's going on at Bramall Lane and Kenilworth Road. He'll just want them to focus on winning that game. And it's not about chasing goals. It's just about getting the 3 points, isn't it?
Yeah, we've seen, under Wilder, we've seen comfortable, when the team has, the other team has the ball. We never seem to panic or seem to be under any pressure. Like you say, the goals on Saturday against Stoke just seem to come out the blue from nowhere because, I'm thinking, how the hell are we 2-0 up? Yeah, there's no point going gung-ho, going absolutely mental. It's how he's got us, James. And if we can get Jones fit, hopefully he's at 100% on Saturday. If we can get him and Crooks firing down the right-hand side, hopefully Dale's a bit fitter, which will allow maybe Dykesteel and McNair to get forward a bit more again. Because I feel when Dale's not in the team, Wilder famous for his overlapping centre halves, I don't feel that's been happening when Dale hasn't been in the team, James. Because of that bit of security at the back. Obviously, Sol Bamba hasn't got the same pace as Dale. Yeah. So that's been took away from us. Yeah. So just hopefully he's got a full squad to pick from and he picks the right team for the right for that day. Yeah. But like I say, it's just on Saturday, Wilder was really annoyed with the kid who ran on the pitch, James, for the selfie. Yeah. Like you say, he didn't want us to go gung-ho. We were 3-0 up. We had Boro fans on social media going absolutely mental, saying, why didn't we go for 4 or 5? 3-0 was a comfortable win. We didn't have to do any more. We, goal difference is getting better. So, but with that kid running on, the referee stuck another minute on and we've conceded a goal. Do you know what I mean, James? Yeah. So I think, mums and dads need to start and take some responsibility because we, it's like watching friggin' Minions every 2 minutes. Once that kid run on, there was another kid running on, and it needs to be stopped because the stewarding at our club at the moment is absolutely atrocious. It's absolutely crap. They've brought an outside company in, and the stewarding is the worst I've ever seen. Yeah. But that's their worry. Yeah, like you say.
Yeah. I think it's a difficult situation because, for one, I wouldn't like to be a steward, and for what they get paid, it's a difficult job for them to say stop making, especially when it's involved with kids. You can't put your hands on kids and stuff like that. But I just think it doesn't look good when there's kids every 5 minutes towards the end of that game on Saturday running on the pitch, and I just don't get that.
I reckon if I ran on that pitch and asked for a selfie with Joe Lumley, James, I'd have my arm up my back, I'd have my face dragged across the car park, and I'd be barred out the Riverside for the rest of my life. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, the club did react today and said they've released life banding orders for those who did it. I mean, obviously it's good of them that they've done it, but they could have just done it on a day. I mean,
what some of these fans don't realise, Joe, is the likes of me and James and the older generation, spent years and years stood behind a fence. We were caged in. We were caged in like animals for years. And the way the crowds are going at the moment with the flares and what was going on at Ellen Road on Saturday, throwing things onto the pitch, they're either going to have the stadiums closed down or they're going to end up putting fences back up, simple as, which isn't a nice experience to be stood behind one of them, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So these fans need to, get clued up because, there's nothing more than they'd absolutely love it to cage us in again.
Yeah. Paul Nicholas has got it nailed on there, spot on, Paul. Just saying there's an attention-seeking culture in football at the moment, and parents need to pack it in, encouraging it. And it's just not right. There's a game of football. The only people that should be on the pitch are the players. Shouldn't be anyone else running onto the pitch.
James, can you imagine the situation if that were to happen and it was still like 0-0 and they go up the other end and score in the last minute? I mean, you wouldn't even blame the players. I would just blame both the parents and the kids who ran on that pitch. But I mean, we're lucky in the situation that we were 3-0 up at the time. But I mean, could just imagine if it was a different scenario.
Well, Joe, bringing it back to matters on the pitch at Preston at the weekend. There's a few players that we've got to look out for at the weekend. I think it's Emil Rees-Jacobson. He's got 14 league goals. He's got this season. Scored again at the weekend. Daniel Johnson's always a consistent performer for Preston in the Championship. Cameron Archer, I think he's got 7 goals since he's been on loan from Villa in January. And as you said, Ryan Lowe's come in from Plymouth in December, steadied the ship there at Preston. It ain't going to be easy on Saturday, is it?
No, like you mentioned, both Reese and Johnson, I think they're going to be there too, main key players we've got to watch out for. And plus, I think I've heard one report saying regarding the transfer window in the summer, we've been linked with their goalkeeper that's there at the moment who's on loan from Leicester City, that Daniel Iverson, whatever he's called.
Yeah.
So, and he's been one of the a decent keeper for Preston this season. So, like I said before,
I hope you shit on Saturday, Joe.
Yeah, he's going to hope he's actually making up on Saturday. So, but yeah.
Then after that, you'll be the best keeper in the Championship. I just want to have a nightmare on Saturday then.
Yeah, you've got to imagine that. But Preston are a decent team, no doubt. Like I said, they did us over in the reverse fixture, so we've got to obviously, like I said, get the 3 points and hopefully, worry about the rest later on. So our main aim on Saturday is just that 3 points.
Yeah. And Tony, you've mentioned their past visits to Deepdale. Any that stick out in your memory?
Oh, it's got to be the. I was only a kid and I wasn't allowed to go. It was the last game of the season. But it's got to be champions. It's got to be Big Jack when he relegated his brother.
Yeah,
I think you know what I mean, James. That's always stayed with me. To think we'd been champions for weeks, you know what I mean, if not months. We've been promoted something like Boxing Day. No. I think we've been promoted in the March, early April, whatever it was, and we were champions. And Bobby Charlton was manager of Preston. Big Jack was manager of Middlesbrough. 2 World Cup winners, and you'd have thought Big Jack had done his brother a favour and let him have the point to stay up, but no, we went there and done him 4-2. And that, like you say, that was Jack Charlton's character.
Yeah,
from the minute he walked into the Boro dressing room, absolutely fantastic. I remember just absolutely bouncing that day as a kid, absolutely class. And then, like you say, the more recent one was Pulis's first game where we came back from 2-0 down to win 3-2 at Deepdale, and I thought, the football was going to be terrible under Pulis. And after that game, it was.
What was the high point, was it, Son?
Yeah, I think the most memorable visits I had with went to Preston, as I think there was a couple of seasons after we got relegated, and we went there and we won by 3-1, I think it was. Yeah. I remember Leroy Leiter scoring twice and David Wheater grabbing one. So
that's right.
That was one of my most fondest memories of going to Preston.
Yeah. I think you lads are right. We do. Touchwood, we tend to have a good record at Preston. We've done well in recent years there. Apart from, I think last season we took a bit of a shellacking there when it was behind closed doors. We lost 3-0, but generally we seem to perform there. So without further ado, boys, prediction time. So not only the result at Preston, I want you to predict, are we going to make the top 6 or what's going to be in the Sheffield United and Luton games? So first of all, how the Boro going to do, and are we going to make it into the top 6? Over to you, Joe.
We're definitely going to win. I'm going to go for a 2-0 Boro win, and hopefully, if Fulham field out a decent team, which I'm hoping they are, even though they just won the league today, hope they tongue Sheffield United. So we're definitely getting the top 6. Still feel a bit confident with that.
Yeah. Do you have any worries about that, Joe, that Fulham might ease off now that they've won the league and they might play a lot of squad players on Saturday? Or do you think Marco Silva will still put out a strong team, or the squad that he's got means he will still put out a strong team?
I can imagine he'll still put out a top team regardless. I mean, players that he had on the bench today, like Cavano, Seri, for example, which I mentioned to you before the start of the show, I think they'll probably start. And instead of having Marek Rodak in goal, they'll probably have Paulo Gazzaniga in goal. So it'd be ones who probably on the bench who might start for Fulham, but obviously you keep the likes of Mitrovic in there to hopefully, pile on more misery on the blades. Okay.
Liam Wilde definitely thinks we're going to make it. Dame LaRoche's gone 2-0 Boro. Chris Sykes 3-1 Boro. Tony, how about yourself? What's going to happen Saturday, mate?
We're going to beat Preston 4-0. It's going to be 4-0 at half time. We're all going to be sat there in the Bill Shankly end. We'll have our King Edwards on. You know what I mean? Luton are getting beat 2-0 off Reading. James, we've got to win. Simple as. We've got to win. And God, how many times have we come on this show this season saying we've got to win? It's a must win. Now this is definitely a must win. Yeah. That's it. If we win, it's a must win for the first time this season. It's a definite must win. And if we win, the other business will take care of itself. But I think Fulham will want to go out on a high, James. They don't want to be going into the Premier League on the back of a defeat. So I think they'll be going there. The professional footballers, I think they'll go there, to give the game some integrity. I don't think they'll be lying down for anyone. It's not going to be easy. Bramall Lane's a tough place to go for any team. But, it's been a long, hard season for these players. Fulham are on a they're in dream world. How many times is that they've scored 7 this season? So, hopefully they can take that. Yeah. Hopefully they can take that forward and get a win at Bramall Lane or a draw. Yeah. And then I think Luton, by that performance tonight, they're putting all their eggs in one basket for Saturday for the Reading game. I think that's where they, I don't think they'll be that fussed getting done 7 today. I know it's brought Millwall back into it, but they've got a great chance against Reading on Saturday. Then we're relying on Paul Ince to do a job. Yeah. So hopefully, Big Joe, is it Joe, the kid we got from?
Yeah, Lucas Joe.
Yeah, from Sheffield Wednesday. Hopefully he's got his shooting boots on and he can fire Reading. Fire a couple of goals into Reading on Saturday against Luton.
Yeah, not to mention Paul's son's also in there as well. He's been grabbing a few goals for Reading recently.
Yeah, he seems to be playing okay with his dad in charge, doesn't he? You know what I mean? He's been about a bit now, but he seems to have found a bit of form under his dad.
Yeah.
Just quickly, lads, which out of the two do you think are the one more likely to slip up? Say we do win, which we all think we're going to win at Preston. Which of the two do you think are more likely to slip up? Sheffield United or Luton? Go to you first, Joe.
I've been judging by today, and obviously the other ones are like a top knitted team. So I'm probably going to say Luton, to be honest.
Right. Okay. How about you, Tone?
Like you say, Kenilworth Road's a hard place to go as well. You know what I mean? The horrible place. But I can see Luton, biting the dust. But like you say, I wish I had £1 for every time I'd been wrong on this show, and I'd be doing a lot better for myself. But I think if after watching tonight, I think it'd be Luton.
Right. Okay, well, as Michael Pelland says, it's been a great season regardless of what happens, and we're looking forward to next season. irrespective of what happens at the weekend. All I will say is, if you're lucky enough to have a ticket to go to Deepdale on Saturday, try and enjoy the day, but get behind the lads, give them your full support. As we've seen at the Riverside the last few games, it's been absolutely fantastic. And on the road this season, the travelling support has been amazing. But everyone, unfortunately, that's all we've got time for on this week's show. Thank you all for watching and contributing. And a big thank you to Joe, Scott and Tony Guest for appearing on the show. Thanks again, lads.
No worries,
Pleasure as always, James.
We'll be back next Monday for the final programme of the season, or maybe not, as it turns out. Keep an eye out on Joe's preview of the Preston game, which will be coming out later this week on Boro Fan TV. But until then, from us all here, take care, have a good week, and up the Boro.
Up the Boro.